The choice of family is one of the most important aspects of Dororo. The entire story revolves around it, with each character's ties to their blood affecting them as they move forward. But the idea behind Dororo, especially with the union of Hyakkimaru and Dororo herself as companions, is that the family you find may just be as important as the one you're born into, if not more so. Each character resolves themselves to this idea in different ways, with some leading to more positive futures, others negative, and some even moving one way and then choosing another. The easiest and most clear-cut example of choosing family is actually where our story begins, with Hyakkimaru's father, Kagamitsu, appealing to the demons to save his lands. In many ways, being born to this position, Kagamitsu takes on the entire land as his family, as a matter of course, with this ultimately resulting in his own blood being resigned to a fate worse than death. He chose which family his duty called for, and while this initially provides positive results and circumstances for the land and people he's chosen, both will eventually begin to rot and die once more as a result of his and his blood family's actions. Had Kagamitsu decided to side with his blood, perhaps this entire circumstance could have been avoided, but it would have also resulted in loss of life regardless. Had Kagamitsu decided to move his people to more fertile lands perhaps, or found some way to combat the drought and general malaise affecting his populace, maybe the situation he found himself in during the series could have been avoided too. There's no way to know, as the story hasn't told us what the result is of no demons protecting the land's flourishing environment. However, given evidence of the drought returning and war arriving at Kagamitsu's doorstep thanks to Hyakkimaru's actions, perhaps the answer lies there. Perhaps, in this case, Kagamitsu's choice of blood or found family is irrelevant, as his fate will remain the same. Yet still it stages the story upon which others' choices pivot. One such character is Nuen Okada, the wife of Kagamitsu and mother of Hyakkimaru, who chooses her blood ties with such fervor that the curse placed upon her firstborn is relented just enough for him to survive, and to bring chaos upon both her land and family in the future. Nuen Okada is the epitome of good intentions paving the road to hell, though her husband's actions are ultimately the cause of her choice. Yet, by sticking so close to that important blood tie with Hyakkimaru, her second-born loses an eye, the land's plights begin to worsen, and her husband falls further into insanity. She herself even resigns to despair in the end. However, while she and the situation surrounding her turns to the negative, the effect of the demons summoned by her husband affect other domains negatively just by existing. With Hyakkimaru surviving to kill them, is it then an overall net gain that her choices result in, as the needs of the many outweigh the few of her domain? Perhaps in utilitarian terms it is, but this was most likely not her intention. Despite this, her choice of family echoes in the world she and her sons live in. While Nuen Okada and Kagamitsu are rather simple in their duality, Tahumaru is complex, as the mixture of these two strong-willed people would naturally be. Tahumaru lives two lives, traveling the land helping the people he's meant to have a responsibility to as a member of the Daigo family, with the two brothers who've grown up beside him. At the same time, he chafes under his family at home, not knowing what he can do to live up to either of his parents. Neither group offers much guidance within the show either, until confronted with two things: Hyakkimaru and the truth. It's only when given the truth of his family's and domain's greatness at Hyakkimaru's expense that he's forced to decide between the firm hand of whatever's necessary to keep his domain's people alive, as his father did, or the kindness to do what's possibly right, even if it's hard and may fail in the end, as with his mother. In the end, he tragically chooses his domain, following the same path as his father instead of the blood tie in front of him. Hyakkimaru then, as our main protagonist, is of course the one person in the show that everything connects to. He is the nexus for all the choices that have occurred in the show. First, the direct verification of his parents' choices, which results in his disfigurement. Second is the family maid who sent him down the river to survive, she choosing what she no doubt saw as her family in Nuen Okada and this poor boy. And from here, the choices spiral out beyond blood and immediate family retainers. The third choice of family falls to Jukai, who helps Hyakkimaru grow into the man he becomes, as well as fitting him with the prosthetics that let him harness his own destiny. Fourth is, of course, Dororo, the small girl who accompanies him on his journeys, and perhaps his most important connection. Fifth is the priest Biwamaru, whose ties of destiny often cross over with the two's own, teach them lessons and help them grow. And sixth is Hyakkimaru's love, Mio, who chose to gather the orphans of the war, as well as Dororo and Hyakkimaru into her family, devoting herself to her work until it killed her. Finally, Hyakkimaru's brother, Tahumaru, as previously mentioned. Each of these people have their own reasons for choosing Hyakkimaru as a member of their family or not, and each choice creates the story we see before us. But it's important who Hyakkimaru himself chooses to try and align himself with: Mio, his mother, and Dororo. While Jukai and Biwamaru contributed to his growth and ability to survive, these were moments of coincidence and convenience rather than an active choice. Hyakkimaru's choice of family, however, ends in tragedy for Mio, almost turning him into a monster in the process. Tragedy is further forced upon him by his mother's choice to abandon him to the world, finally, after all these years spent protecting him. But it is perhaps these specific moments that strengthen his ties to Dororo, as the last living person who he chooses to walk with, as well as the one person who chooses to walk with him, their destinies intertwined. And thus we come to Dororo, a girl who lost her parents through betrayal by someone she grew close to. She is an existence that knows the sting of losing a family and being forced to find another in Hyakkimaru, and is there when the same befalls her friend. She continues to fight and walk beside her chosen family no matter what, far beyond the simple survival he offered her initially, as she's proven many times by attempting to sacrifice herself for him. For these two souls, they are the only family they have left, with Biwamaru acting as an elder teacher / Obi-Wan and pointing them in the right direction whenever they need it most. This is especially poignant in the moment it's revealed Dororo has a map to treasure on her back, as the last words of her fallen family were to only share the information with someone trustworthy. Considering the map was tattooed on her back and activated by heat as well, only someone who Dororo would trust implicitly in such a compromising position would be considered someone truly trustworthy. With the amount of gold no doubt at the end of the map too, the choice of who Dororo shares the information and wealth with will likely be what the domain and greater world pivot upon, whether that be for a more nefarious means if someone gets a hold of Dororo in her map, or even she herself managed to find it and use it first. Thus, both the future of Dororo as a storyline and Dororo as a person pivot upon the choice of family.